What are you doing in my house? What do you mean, why am I sleeping in my chair? I always sleep in my chair. I don't have a bed. Alright. I guess it's time to get up. What is it, early December? I slept through the holidays! I missed Christmas and New Year's and Boxing Day! Ooh, that means there's still probably presents out in the living room. I'll be right back, guys. I got a pair of socks for Christmas. Alright. Why are you here again? Oh, right, a YouTube channel. This is... what do I do on this channel again? Oh, right, unboxings. Nice box. Very nice box. Very nice manual. I don't know why you're here. Oh, right. I'm reviewing the last part of that metalcore trilogy I was doing. The 3 different types of metalcore. If you don't remember what I'm talking about because I pretty much died over the holidays, I posted a video stating that I believe that there are 3 main subtypes of metalcore. There is the early metalcore bands like Earth Crisis, Hatebreed, Sky Came Falling, etc., etc. There is the middle-of-the-road stuff that came in the early to mid-2000s, like God Forbid, Killswitch Engage, Shadows Fall, to a lesser extent Lamb of God and Chimera could be lumped into that as well. That's the second kind, more thrash metal-oriented metalcore. Now we're on what I consider to be the final type of metalcore, which I'm really not looking forward to reviewing an album, but the album I've chosen is Cold Like War by We Came as Romans. Okay. Why did I pick this album? Like, I genuinely ask myself that question when I picked this album. It is an album released last year by We Came as Romans, which I'm really out of practice at this, ladies and gentlemen. I should probably mention who they are. They are an Ohio metalcore band who mixes metalcore and adds electronic element to it, which, as I mentioned, the third type of metalcore is basically metalcore mixed with pop music and has heavy amounts of keyboard elements, synth elements, and clean vocals. I see a lot of these bands, like, maybe not directly influenced, but the root of this is probably, like, definitely bands like Devil Wears Prada and Under Oath. Whether or not you agree with that is completely up to you, but that's how I hear it personally. We Came as Romans came onto the scene in 2008 with their debut To Plant a Seed, which I thought was pretty good. I was like, yeah, this is not completely horrible. And then they released the album after that, which its title escapes me. It's actually sitting on the floor right next to me. Hang on. I can't read the title of it. Sorry. But anyway, their second album came, and I was like, it was really poppy and a lot of chug 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 like that. And while their first album didn't exactly have great lead work, I found that one to be, their second album to be a bit worse. Now, what does that mean? Well, I haven't listened to anything by them since their second album. And I saw this on sale at Target around early December because I slept through Christmas. And I was like, yeah! I'll get this and I'll look at it and I'll be like, what a mediocre pile of dog poop. Oy. to me, a mediocre album is worse than a bad album, because there's not a lot that can be said about an album that's mediocre. I had this issue when I reviewed Thy Art Is Murder. In my opinion, I found Thy Art Is Murder's Holy War and... I don't recall the name of their third album. It's going to bother me till I think of it, guys. Let me look. Dear Desolation is the title of their second album, or third album, rather. Dear Desolation and Holy War, as I said, I found incredibly mediocre. They were not horrible. They're heavy, chugging, and thick. They're fine, but they don't do anything to really grab me by the face and go to my face. This album has slightly less of that. Those albums were at least heavy enough to keep my attention, but boring. This I find to be very lacking musically. The lyrics are fine. Let's just get that out of the way. The lyrics and vocals, singing vocals, are fine, although I think the clean vocals might be touched up in post. I've never been good at hearing that personally. I know people who are, and good on them. I'm not. So take that with a grain of salt. My main issue with Cold Like War is, while it's not a bad album, there's an overwhelming sense of blandness that rides through it. And that, I think, is worse to deal with. It was just bad. I could just spend the rest of this video just being like, what a burning, flaming piece of dog poop out in the snow, surrounded by leprechauns. You know, like, I could just bring the whole thing down, but it's not bad enough for me to do that. But it's not good enough for me to heap praises on it either. I mean, the music itself is incredibly rhythmic. That's great. It's all rhythm-based, and the melody is made by the synth mostly. There's not a lot of lead work, it's mostly rhythm. Very hardcore punk in the way it's structured. Like, not really hardcore punk. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The vocals and the way the lyrics are delivered is very hardcore punk. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. The music itself is very simple metalcore in the vein of, like, August Burns Red, Memphis Mayfire, other contemporaries to this band. This is a shining example of the third generation of metalcore, and everything I think is wrong with metalcore at this point. The guitar work has been replaced with synth work for a lot of these bands, and while that in and of itself is fine, it's nothing new. There's been synths since the 80s. I mean, that's just kind of one of those things. Now, other than that, how do I feel about this album overall? Like, I guess is the only place to go from here. Mediocre, but if you're into this band, you will probably like it. I find that people who like this kind of stuff are less into, like, guitar-heavy albums, which is fine. You like what you like. But for me personally, I'm disappointed with this generation of metalcore. Bands like Code Orange and Knocked Loose, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, they're kind of bringing back the early metalcore in the vein of, like, Converge and other early bands similar to that, so that's kind of cool. So I'm hoping that they kind of bring this back to a more metallic, less synthy place. But overall, Cold Like War is a prime example of what I think is wrong with the third generation of metalcore. What I consider to be the third generation of metalcore. Now granted, there are bands that do this that are enjoyable. Motionless in White is good. Miss May I is good. Memphis Mayfire has some decent stuff. Bless the Fall, though, We Came as Romans, Asking Alexandria, they're all passable, but none of them really stand out, in my opinion. Most of their strong point doesn't necessarily lie on the construction of the songs and the guitar work, but rather how catchy the music is, which is not necessarily bad, but for me personally, it's disappointing. I would rather hear a song with good guitar work than a song that's catchy that I would hear on rock radio. Does that make sense? I'm hoping you guys are understanding what I'm trying to say, because you break into my house, you wake me up, and you make me forget Christmas. And all I got was socks. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about this. I'm not even going to really comment on the album artwork. I mean, it's not horrible. Like, it's like a snake with like a wolf on top of it, and they're like fighting it. Again, nothing terrible, but it's just bland. Like I say, if you like any of the bands I mentioned, Ask Alexandria, Memphis Mayfire, you'll probably like these guys if you don't already. If you're somebody like me, though, that likes like Every Time I Die and Sky Came Falling, God Forbid, Shadows Fall, any of those type of bands, this might be a bit insulting because it's not as thrashy, it's more poppy and more rhythmic. Not that those bands weren't rhythmic in their own way, but this is more pop rhythm than it is like rhythm in like a death metal Origin kind of way, if you understand what I mean. Like bands like Origin or Archspire. Now we're getting off topic here. Okay. Now, thank you for waiting patiently for this video, those of you that have been waiting. I hope you all had a happy holidays and a great new year. This year, I'm going to try to put out one video a week, and I'm going to start by focusing on stuff that I wanted to cover last year that I didn't, and I'm also going to start mentioning albums from like this past year that came out that I thought were really good that need covered. I don't have an album in mind for the next video yet, but keep your eyes open. That one should be out sometime next week. I hope you guys are having a great new year so far, and thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been Adamsaurus with another album no one cares about.